We're going to redo with Damantae.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to an episode of Freedom Fighters with Edward Lang and Damantae Gray. I mean, not Gray, Graham. They're joining us from Chillicothe Correctional today. Welcome, guys.
What's going on? Good morning, everybody.
Thank you. And we have one person that's going to be watching live for sure. And I told her to ask some questions to put you on the spot. Because we got to get your guys' messages out. It looks like we're going to have to also do tomorrow one because, we had problems with the phone again. And unless you could call back to back today.
Okay, yeah, we can.
Okay, good. Let's finish off. Let's start from the beginning as what yesterday was supposed to be about.
Okay, so the first segment we did a follow-up interview with me, reiterating some of the key points of my innocence. We had done 4 videos about my innocence, so
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Go watch those videos again. However, Damantae needs to, give some attention to his innocence. So, we pretty much want to use this segment to reconduct this interview so he can get the listeners the opportunity to understand, and key points of his innocence. That's all.
Right. It's so let's start off where you would like to. There's, I think, 4 videos, like you said, with your case, and people can look under your name, Edward Lang. I think we have 4. The first one that you did, we have almost 500 views on it, which is, record breaking. We need to get Damantae Graham's up there as well. So let's have you interview Damantae a little bit today.
Okay, that's what we're going to do now. So, Damantae, what do you want the listeners and subscribers to understand about your innocence?
Okay, I'm Damantae Graham. I would like to shed light on the deficiencies of the so-called justice system because this same system has done a grave injustice to me and my family. In 2016, at 19 years old, I was convicted in Portage County of aggravated murder, aggravated robbery, and kidnapping, and was sentenced to death, based entirely on the false testimony of 3 witnesses. These witnesses admitted their own involvement and placed me at the scene committing the murder. Now, their testimony is called direct evidence because it leaves no room for inferences to be drawn. My convictions rest solely on the credibility of these 3 witnesses, and their credibility was boosted when they all gave the same facts, but ultimately, it is their word against mine.
Right. So what is your association with these 3 witnesses that testified against you?
Okay, the state 3 main witnesses were my co-defendants. I was associated with Marquise Greer and Todd Crimley because they are the relatives of my friends, and we know a lot of the same people. The driver, AJ Planica, I never had any dealings with, and I don't even know him. I have maintained my innocence and denied any involvement since day one. The only reason my name was involved is because I had priors as a juvenile, and Marquise Greer's girlfriend mentioned my name to the police as being associated with him in the crime. But none of my co-defendants got life without parole or the death penalty. They all got deals in exchange for testifying.
Right. So what deals did they get the same deals? Like what deals did they get?
Marquise Greer and Todd Crimley, they both received 15 to life, and AJ Planica received 11 years flat, I believe, and I got the death penalty. But what wasn't brought up at trial is the physical evidence supports my innocence. The truck that was used in the crime to transport to and from, and where I allegedly sat in the rear driver's seat, had an abundance of physical evidence. DNA, fingerprints, muddy footprints, and none of the prints or DNA were mine, and the footprints didn't match.
Right, that's very substantial. Who did the prints and shit match?
All this DNA and prints were identified as anti-Planicas.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Both surviving victims never identified, and when they testified, they said none of the intruders wore gloves when they ransacked through the apartment. But again, my DNA or fingerprints were not found on anything located at the scene. Last but not least, the search warrant was executed on the house that we allegedly escaped to after the incident, and nothing of value was recovered. No items from the alleged robbery, no gun or shit, not the clothes or shoes they say I wore, absolutely nothing. The only thing that corroborates one co-defendant's testimony is another co-defendant's testimony. Nothing linked me to this crime.
So, do you know any of the victims or had any involvement with any of the victims?
No, I have never met the victims nor had any dealings with them.
Okay, so, I mean, what else do you think, the listeners should know about your innocence?
Okay, I know a lot of people wonder why would they lie on me? Well, I can explain. They had everything to lose if they didn't find somewhere to place blame. They was looking at life in prison at 17 years old, and it was easy to throw me under the bus because I meant nothing to them. They didn't know me. We only dealt with each other in the street. But they knew of my reputation, and I was a perfect scapegoat. But now, one of my co-defendants, Marquise Greer, in an affidavit, admitted he lied at trial, and I was not the shooter, so the fight continued.
Okay? So, man, explain a little bit more about the affidavit that you said you got. Like, explain that.
Okay, so my co-defendant has admitted in an affidavit that he gave false testimony at trial, and that I was not the shooter, which questions the reliability of the guilty verdict.
Okay, so, I mean, is it possible for you to get this affidavit in your appeal process?
Well, since the affidavit was received after trial, it's considered what courts call newly discovered evidence. So it must be raised in post-conviction relief, which is a procedure where I challenge the integrity of the guilty verdict based on new evidence that it was obtained using false testimony. Right now, it is before the court, but this is one of the many issues I raised pro se because my appointed counsel would not agree to raise it.
Okay, so, I mean, where exactly are you at in the appeal process?
Okay, so I had oral arguments for my direct appeal October 25th, 2019, Ohio Supreme Court. And I could be getting a ruling any day, but my post-conviction is currently still at the trial court.
Okay, so, I mean, elaborate some more on the direct appeal issues that you have in front of you.
Okay, on my direct appeal, I have numerous constitutional issues. I was charged in an interracial murder in a predominantly white area. The judge refused to allow me to question the jury on the issue of potential racial bias, which by U.S. Supreme Court case law, I am entitled. I had multiple different prospective jurors use racial slurs without inquiring the effect it had on the entire jury pool or declaring mistrial. The prosecutor made improper comments about my demeanor and post-arrest silence, which is a constitutional violation. The prosecutor introduced prejudicial photographs of guns that had nothing to do with the crime. He also introduced highly emotional victim impact evidence during the guilt phase of the trial, which was extremely prejudicial and should have been reserved for the penalty. So I feel like I have meritorious issues before the court, but also not all of my issues were raised. I had a public trial violation, which is defined as a structural error, a claim that a new trial that my court-appointed counsel refused to raise. I attempted to raise it pro se, but it was denied already. But we will see where it goes. Continue to struggle. The other issues I raised were more like trying to correct the argument my counsel dropped the ball on, so we'll see.
Right. I mean, just to, really add a little bit for the listeners to understand, we're seeing a few prisoners on Ohio's death row who have actual innocence claims. We will be conducting other interviews with these other guys in the coming weeks to be able to shed more light on their cases. So the primary focus isn't about who's guilty.
Right. We have a comment from one of the listeners.
Okay.
It says attorneys do this to allow the case to move slower. The slower they move a case, the more they can talk you out of your money. When being a public defender, they may work with the courts as buddies. That makes sense. About slower the attorneys talk, the more money they could get out of you, and the public defenders may be working with the court system.
Absolutely, absolutely. See, that's basically something that we was going to use on the second segment.
Right.
To really iterate some key points. But, the ultimate goal is about getting rid of the death penalty and challenging the conditions of confinement that have a tremendous effect on prisoners.
Right.
This isn't just about us. Of course, we want to highlight our innocence and bring attention to awareness of the death penalty with hopes that, we can be exonerated.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
However, it is the system itself that's flawed and unbalanced, and it needs to be seriously looked into.
Right.
We are the ones affected by the system, so it's up to us to change the system. And when I say we and us, I don't mean criminals or convicts. I mean society as a whole. We're advocating for prison reform, saying, our aim being, rehabilitation in order to decrease recidivism rates and in turn make a dramatic impact on lingering crime.
Right.
And I want to chime in. I believe criminal justice reform is more than changing some policy. It's about changing the patterns, culture, and behavior in yourself, as well as institutions and your community.
Right.
You see, the current power structure on ignorance. Criminal justice reform is about proper education and accountability.
Yeah. And we need to come up with a hearsay law too, that they cannot use hearsay.
Most definitely. But I want to urge listeners to learn who your local legislators are, learn the journey the bill takes in order to become law, and hold the legislators accountable if they don't support them. My last point I want to make is crime is a result of the gross disparity in opportunity, resources, and wealth, which in turn cause frustration and rebellion because of the lack of commitment and support.
Yeah, and our listener also said, and getting the community involved and educated.
I urge everyone listening to help yourself, help somebody out, because change starts with us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like we said, we got more content for the second phone call. But, we want people to understand that sticking someone in prison doesn't miraculously cause them to be better. Prisons don't rehabilitate no one. We rehabilitate ourselves. I've been in prison for 14 years, and it took me every bit of 11, maybe 12 years to get where I'm at today. And I'm bettering myself daily to stay in this path of righteousness.
Right.
To give my little something more to think of me than just, someone in prison. So I just feel like, if we have more people out there who use different platforms to really bring awareness to what we're doing, then it can help tremendously. This is not something that we're doing just, for our clout. We're not clout chasing. We're not trying to, get popularity off this. We're trying to bring attention and awareness to the definitely not just in Ohio, but the first step, of course, is Ohio, but around the globe, as well as, the criminal justice system itself. You got guys that commit crimes, and if you snitch on somebody, then you can get your time reduced by giving somebody else up. You feel me? So it's not about, what somebody actually did. It's about what the consequences.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Are you going to be able to call back? Or will you be able to call back?
Well, absolutely. You got to call back now.
Okay. We'll be here. Okay, brother.
All right.
I tell you, my heart breaks for these guys here. I tell you, I've never met them, but this young kid that's been down for 3 years at the age of 19 or 18 really knows his stuff. I'm hoping he doesn't wait 15 minutes. I'm hoping to hear call back right away. Some people are confused on, there's some institutions where you only can call once every hour. I think that, and I'm not sure if that's max or what it is. But he's right back now.
Hello. This call is from a correction facility and is subject to monitoring and recording. Thank you for using GTL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so this second segment, will definitely help the person that's looking at live, some of the things that, they asked and commented on is definitely something that we want to, talk about in this segment, so like, we want to bring, more awareness and attention to it, definitely, not just in Ohio, but around the country.
Right.
And we want our listeners to help us about us definitely by posting the links of our videos on your social media platform with the hashtag Ohio Freedom Fighters.
Right.
We have an About Us Definitely protest scheduled, October the 17th of this year in Chillicothe, Ohio, in front of Chillicothe Correctional Institution.
Yes.
So if you're able to make it, we really appreciate your love and
And
support.
that's from 1 to 3 p.m. And we have one this Saturday in front of the State House for wrongful convictions. Now this young lady is made another statement. Ask if he ever heard of only 15 minutes breaks where he is at.
No, we definitely didn't. Is there some kind of organization that we can use to help us fight our cases?
No, I'm wondering if she's talking about the phone calls.
Oh, okay. No, we use GTL, Global Tel Link. So, that's all we're familiar with. We gotta wait 30 minutes after each call. So basically, like, I'm using my card and he used his just now so that we can get.
Oh, yeah. She is talking about in between calls.
Oh, okay. No. We're not familiar with it. No.
Okay. Well, we have the protest this Saturday from 1 to 3 on the.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Okay, we have the protest this coming Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. We'll have signs with your guys' name on it at the State House. Then on the 17th, we'll be at Chillicothe Correctional. Love to have you have everybody down there as well. That is from 1 to 3 p.m. And we're praying for a good turnout as well as the media attending.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely want to, I think, it's very important that we start these conversations and use every platform that we have to garner the support needed to bring an end to this inhumane and senseless capital punishment. Like voting is the biggest platform we have in this quest. So we urge people to register to vote so that, we vote politicians into office who are in support of repealing the death penalty. We can also write letters to governors, senators, and representatives and put pressure on them to repeal the death penalty. We plan to start an anti-death penalty petition that will allow people to sign and support the abolishing the death penalty in Ohio. When this petition is available, we will post the links on our social media platforms. There's a bill currently in front of legislators, which is an Ohio Bill 136, which prohibits the execution of prisoners with serious mental illnesses. These illnesses is delusional, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, major depression, and bipolar. This is the start, but we need a bill on a table that will repeal the death penalty completely. So it's important that people understand that each decision to seek the death penalty is made by a single county prosecutor or district attorney who is answerable only to the voters of that county. So in other words, those who we elect as prosecutors and district attorneys choose whether they go after the death penalty and murder cases based on their own discretion. So, voting has the power to control the narrative of the death penalty as well as other laws that we are governed by based on who we elected to office. So we need to get out and exercise our right to vote. I can't stress that enough. Definitely exercise your right to vote. Not just to get Trump or different presidents into the White House, but, every single year to put better politicians, judges, district attorneys into office. Oftentimes, we're sentenced to death during an election year because it shows voters who are in support of the death penalty that these district attorneys and prosecutors are tough on crime, who are political, not morally ethical. Furthermore, keeping someone on death row is more expensive than housing a prisoner and general population under a lesser sentence, and taxpayers are responsible for paying the cost for this.
And I want to emphasize that if many factors contribute to the application of death penalty, such as gender and geography, but I want to emphasize the role race plays in how the death penalty is applied. I can personally speak on race being a factor. Me being an African American convicted of murdering a white male had a profound impact on me getting a death sentence by an all-white jury. But specifically for this segment, I'm going to deal with facts from statistical data about racial victim effects in U.S. constitutions from 1976 to 2013, collected from about 1,300 executions.
And yeah, don't you think your attorney should have requested some black people to be on the jury?
Yeah, and that was ineffective on his part, which I also raised in my pro se motion. But the analysis of existing data confirms higher rates of capital punishment for those who kill whites, particularly for blacks who kill whites. Plus, capital punishment is rarely used when the victim is a black male, despite the fact black males are likely to become victims of homicide. The simple, most reliable predictor of whether a defendant in the USA will be executed is the race of the victim. There is a substantial body of academic research confirming persistent racial bias in death sentencing in favor of white victims. Research suggests that among defendants charged with killing white victims, blacks are more likely than whites to receive a death sentence. Now, it has been widely known that racial disparities affect criminal justice. Academics and activists for years have argued that the judicial system places more value on the lives of whites. The goal for this segment is to draw attention to the existing disparities and application of capital punishment based upon race. Although victim race is the key determinant, certain combinations of victim race and defendant race can result in even greater bias. For example, Donahue's study of over 4,000 murders in Connecticut found that African Americans received death penalty at least 3 times more than white defendants in cases where the victims are white. In every study,
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
in every study of racial bias and capital prosecution, prosecutors were more than likely to charge killers of whites with capital crimes than those who were killers of blacks. And the vast majority of these studies found that the killers of whites were more likely than the killers of blacks to receive a death sentence. This data is consisting of all reported homicides and executions in the modern era from 1976 onwards. They confirm that there are very few cases whites are executed for killing blacks, and a disproportionately high number of cases in which blacks are executed for killing whites. So you tell me what race has to do with the application of the death penalty. Before I conclude, I want to address what the U.S. Supreme Court has said about these type of studies, why appellate relief is very trivial. In 1987, a case called McCliskey versus Kemp, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that even the most convincing evidence of racial bias is not enough to demonstrate a violation of constitutional rights unless it presents proof of intentional conscious discrimination. I say the expectation to identify an individual who intentionally discriminated ignores the ways in which bias might be built into the system or operate unconsciously through multiple individuals and the process. For this reason exactly is why systematic change is one of the ultimate goals in change the thinking of representatives and politicians who in turn elect court officials who identify with the values of the people. We advocate for prison reform as well as criminal justice reform.
Absolutely.
You know, I kind of like how he was able to cite law before he was born. That's called studying.
Absolutely. We got, about lawyers, I touched on this a little bit in one of my interviews, but, it's important for people to understand that our lawyers that represent us, they're court appointed. They work for the state. They're incompetent and they're overwhelmed with many cases that they cannot handle. And they do the bare minimum of what their job requires them to do. They're in some ways in cahoots with the state to keep the death penalty alive because they're not pushing for our governor to get rid of the death penalty. You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to push our governor to change the death penalty protocol, which is pretty much the method in which executions are carried out. Like now the death penalty in Ohio is on hold because the last 3 executions was botched, meaning the prisoners that was murdered by the state suffered while they were being put to death due to the sedative drug midazolam causing.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Causing these prisoners to suffer an experience similar to being waterboarded. Ohio state laws, it states that prisoners shouldn't be tortured or suffer any kind of pain on being put to death. And it basically should be a quick and quote-unquote painless process. You know what I'm saying? But a federal judge in Ohio ruled last year that the protocol that was formerly used was cruel or unusual punishment. So now Ohio has not, executed anyone recently, and executions are currently on hold until a new lethal injection protocol is put into place. Ohio, along with several other states, are currently, they're having trouble finding companies selling drugs in order to be able to carry out executions. So this will be a long, drawn-out process. You know what I'm saying? So, like, an eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. So killing someone accused of killing another person, it really doesn't make any sense. There's no justification for killing anyone. You know what I'm saying? So, like, how does state officials have a right, to be out judge, jury, and executioners? You know what I'm saying? Like,
now, I wanna touch on how the death penalty is administered. But before I tell you who administers illegal drugs, let me explain why. So, doctors, nurses, most qualified professionals in the medical field have what they call the Hippocratic Oath, named after Hippocrates, the Greek father of medicine, who learned from the African Egyptian teachings of Imhotep, the true father of medicine. The oath is essentially an ethical guide for the medical profession, which prohibits them from intentionally assisting in taking one's life. So for that reason, they allow corrections officers who have not a certificate of qualification to inject poison in our veins. Most people wouldn't even take their dog to a veterinarian who isn't qualified, but here we have human beings being stuck, stabbed, and probed by basically anyone who can qualify to be a CEO and find a vein. I want to take our listeners on a field trip through the mental and physical torture they put our fellow prisoner Campbell through. So he had
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
So he had a date. He had been locked up for quite some time. I'm pretty sure he had come to terms with his death, and he was in a mind state of ready to leave this physical world. They went as far as strapping him to a gurney and repeatedly sticking and stabbing him until after so long of not being able to find a vein, the governor granted him a stay. Can you imagine being strapped to a gurney, getting stuck by needles, knowing you were about to die, being ready to die, only for them to tell you you're going to live? And that's not an isolated incident, but this is the torture we are subjected to under this constitutional method of execution.
That's got to be scary for any man.
A lot of people support capital punishment standing on the outside looking in. They don't know the emotional trauma caused by counting down the days until your death date, then being strapped down while incompetent officers stick you with needles, all while you wondering if you're going to get a miracle stay or if you're going to die.
Facts. That's we really have to do what we can to bring awareness to the death penalty, man. Like, we're gonna spend, a call, talking about the things that we go through on death row. It's a lot of mental anguish, that we suffered early. You know what I'm saying? Like our sentences is not being tortured. Our sentence.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Hey, guys, close it up, and we'll talk to you guys Friday at 11:30. So close it up now, okay?
Oh, absolutely. We thank our listeners for, giving us a platform to be able to speak, thanks for speaking on it. We're going to put more content out. And if you, like what we hear, share our link, hashtag Ohio Freedom Fighters, and, subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel. And, we appreciate y'all listening.
And any questions, concerns you got, you can always contact us on JPay. But again, share, subscribe, man, because change starts with us.
Okay, give your numbers so they could subscribe to you guys. Your numbers.
My ID number is 532-018. I'm Edward Lang.
And I'm Damantae Graham, 8691689.
Okay, guys, we'll see you all on Friday at 11:30.
God willing, bless.
Okay.
I appreciate you, man.
Sure. Thanks. This is really sad. I was not locked up with any death row inmates. At one time, I was a porter for death row. And could you imagine counting down the days, like he said, to your death, and not knowing if you're going to get an emergency stay or if they're going to put you to death? That is sad. That is twisted. And what bothers me is my own party claims to be pro-life. Life is precious from the moment of conception to natural death, but then they support the death penalty, so it's kind of hypocritical. Let's spare these people. And the sad thing is they're both innocent of their crimes. If you'd like to check out our website, it is at www.changestartswithusohio.org. Again, that is www.changestartswithusohio.org. Our email is changestartswithusohio@gmail.com, or Candace is our president, is changestartswithusohiocandace@gmail.com. Okay, everybody, have yourself a great rest of the day.